Gagut, greetings. This is John Glover, the second part of the broadcast on April 28th, 2019. Again, sharing the God order with you, represented by the formula Gij, comma j equals 0, and eta sub n, which is the formula you see in front of you, which is equal to G sub nj times x to the x sub j to the ed plus 1 power. It's these formulas that have won the ultimate victory for Black people. Right now, the Gagut books and shirts must be propagated amongst our people in order for them to recognize the blessing God has given to us through Gagut. Through these formulas and through Gagut, we have been now protected and brought into a position where we're now recognized as the most intelligent, richest, and undefeatable race. It requires all people to understand this, but the only people who are the ones not demonstrating that understanding, ironically enough, are the Black people. Jim Crow has recognized this through the surrenders mentioned in the previous part of this broadcast earlier, like Göttingen University, Yale University, and Jamia Millia Islamia universities, all representing Europe, America, and Asia respectively. But yet, the Black people from whom this blessing has come from have not demonstrated their understanding of this God order. That's where the work is needed to be done. And that is why I'm talking to you now about how you can propagate Gagut through the Gagut shirts and Gagut books. As I mentioned in the first part of the video with the Denise Williams, Let's Hear It for the Boy music video, all that's required is to replace the fraudulent 3/5 label symbolized by the dunce cap the boy was wearing in the beginning of that video with the black hat that Miss Williams herself is providing, which is symbolic of Gagut, the Gagut shirt and the Gagut books. When you offer that as opposed to the dunce, or get rid of the dunce cap, you're then providing the boy or the children ability to jump up for joy, to enjoy life, to live life as they're supposed to. So you can get the Gagut books through us. We can work with you all to arrange the best way to get the Gagut books to the people, but you have to call us at 631-242-3069. We can arrange the best deal and organize the best way to disseminate the books amongst the people. You can get the books yourself personally. If you're a go-getter, that's not a problem. But if you have, or you say that you have problems, then you can use the Gagut Each One Reach Many program, which will allow you to use what we call two forms of currency, the God currency and the Jim Crow currency. You're probably more familiar with the Jim Crow currency because you use it, unfortunately, every day in Jim Crow system. You put down in the Jim Crow currency what you can afford. We then work with you towards reaching your extensions, your family or friends, or even strangers in some instances, to see what they can put down in terms of can they match what you can put down, and see if we can gather enough group of those people who can match what you can put down so you can get the Gagut book. If we're able to do that, you'll share the book amongst you. But if you're able to do it on your own as a go-getter, you'll have the book for yourself. You can still donate as a group of books for schools, for the libraries, the police departments, for the governor's offices, mayor's offices, and the president's office in the White House. But you have to understand the value of Gagut in order to do that. When Gagut has declared the Black people as being the race that is the most intelligent, the race that is closer to God than any of us, and all that you've seen from Göttingen, Yale, and Dasgupta's University of Jamia Millia Islamia, those are all that's needed for you to realize God has blessed you with the ultimate intelligence. But you can't just stay idle or stay in the background and expect results to happen. And I'm speaking not just to the people watching, but even those in the chat room. The chat room is good, but the best way you can show your understanding of Gagut right now is to register for the briefing. You can call us at 631-242-3069 to come into the briefing. You can also call us to get the Gagut books on behalf of the children and on behalf of yourselves, that you're protected. The Jewish people made sure that they had relativity behind everything they did. They had the relativity books in their schools. They created a university home for relativity when Einstein arrived in America in 1930, which is known as Institute for Advanced Study. They have done everything they can to immortalize the formula, as well as make sure the formula is symbolic of the people, the Jewish people. They have made sure there's a direct connection between the formula and their people. And that's how they've benefited. Before they came behind relativity, their people were considered gas chamber material. Once their people came behind relativity, they were no longer being considered gas chamber material. They were respected. They were actually treated like human beings, something that they were not before relativity. That's what you have to understand. And relativity compared to Gagut is like a subatomic particle compared to the infinite nature of space. So when you have Gagut, which has the totality of everything, including relativity embedded in it, as a very small or very infinitesimal part of Gagut, Black people can't be crying about, oh, we're hungry, or we supposedly have problems, or we can't find homes to live in, or places to live our lives, or being able to live life at all. You have a solution here. As Gagut was declared by Russia Daily News, the state-operated largest news in Russia. They stated that Gagut has a solution to all problems mathematically. That Gagut has a solution to all problems. Therefore, Black people can't be crying about problems when you have a solution right in front of you. But you have to do what you need to do, which I'm telling you right now, in order to get that solution implemented, which is call us at 631-242-3069. Donate towards Gagut. You can do that through the Gagut PayPal link, which will be in the chat room and also in the bottom of the description part of this the web page of the video on the YouTube. You can also donate by going to our website at gagutofapit.org at the very top. The very first link at the top will allow you to register or to donate towards Gagut. You get the Gagut books also at that same link. You can call us at 631-242-3069 to get the Gagut books, and we can arrange for those who want to buy multiple wholesale. We can arrange a proper price for discount in terms of that. But you have to understand the importance of the Gagut books is critical. The Gagut books are life savers. Gagut books are the reality of you. They tell your reality to Jim Crow. They're not 3/5 labeling like Jim Crow does through all their so-called vicious tactics in their so-called media. It tells the reality of you as being members of the most intelligent, richest, and undefeatable race. So you should call right now at 631-242-3069 so you can see the godliness of the Gagut formula and how it protects you and every other Black person. But you can't be idle. You can't be just sitting on the sideline or just commenting in the background. You have to now get the Gagut books. You have to get into the Gagut courses so you can learn about Gagut, because the Jewish people, the way they stopped the Holocaust was not only funding relativity and providing a home for relativity in the creation of IAS, a new university that was created in 1930 to make sure relativity had a home, and Einstein the ability to teach that formula to the people. The people enrolled at IAS. They didn't come up with excuses. They didn't come up with reasons why they couldn't do it. And you have to also understand, since that university was created in 1930, that was just a year after the stock market crash of 1929. They could have easily said, oh, it's depression. We can't do anything. We don't have the money to do it. They found the way to get the money and to come together. And that's what saved their people from being annihilated. Black people can't be complacent or comfortable in the situation they're in right now where they're not focusing on Gagut. You have to come and call at 631-242-3069 and register for the Gagut courses, get the Gagut books and the Gagut shirts, which are lifesavers, like I went over in the first broadcast. The Gagut shirt protects us from Jim Crow's police. It protects us from being attacked. And it tells your reality to Jim Crow without you having to say a word. So we should be expecting calls from the audience right now at 631-242-3069 to get the Gagut books, the Gagut shirts, and the Gagut other products and registration for briefings. In addition, the other thing you also have to understand, which is also critical to understand here about Gagut, is that when Gagut has a solution to all problems, You can't say you can't do something. That's something that's only demonstrating that you're not understanding your new position as being a race of geniuses, a race of people who are supposed to be most intelligent. You don't hear God saying there's something he can't or can't do. So black people are supposed to be more close to God than any of us due to Professor Oyibo being more close to God than any of us. That means black people can't be relying on excuses or trying to avoid their responsibility because things appear challenging to them. Because in reality, there is no challenge if you truly understand Godlet. So the goal is to understand that the formula that you see on the screen, the A to sub n formula, is the formula for intelligence. Black people have an N of a 28, which is higher than the Jim Crow types, which is they have an 8 sub n, for them is N is 19. If the black people have an N of 28, which is the intelligence level, and the non-blacks, whites, Asians, Jewish, and Arab peoples have 19, there's no reason for black people to say they can't do something, especially when it comes to fundraising, and to be able to understand the value of what they've been blessed with through Professor Oyibo. So the goal now is for our people to show, do they truly understand Gagut? If you understand, you'll be able to call us at 631-242-3069 to get the necessary donations across to Gagut. You can donate Gagut books for the kids to protect them in the schools, because like I said, the yeshivas and the other Jewish universities and even non-Jewish universities, they made sure the relativity book was in there, those schools, as a means of protecting the Jewish people. They made sure of it. They even immortalized the formula of E equals MC squared, which we, in the Gagutical sense, we call E minus MC squared equals 0. But in the Jim Crow, the non-black format, the Jewish people call it E equals MC squared. They've erected a gigantic monument of that formula in Berlin, Germany. There's significance to understanding why that's important. They erected that formula as a means of saying never again. It wasn't just idle words or just something said to sound classy or to sound good. They've demonstrated that never again spirit in terms of the Holocaust by erecting such a gigantic formula of E equals MC squared, because one, it shows them as a people understanding the basis of how they got out of the Holocaust. The formula is what did that. Second, they've erected that monument in such a large fashion that no one can ignore it. There are many monuments they've done, but that one in particular is important because it leads to the third point, which is they've erected that monument in the very capital where their people were almost exterminated. Berlin, Germany was the capital of Nazi Germany during the time of the Nazis. So when they've erected that monument of E equals MC squared in the capital of where the Nazis were orchestrating the final solution and all that, that's the way of demonstrating their understanding of never again in a reality. It's not just, like I said, high-sounding words. It is demonstrated by action. Their recognition, the formula is what's done that. The formula is what's protected them. The formula is what's provided them the opportunity for them to control the Federal Reserve and other things like that. Now, they weren't able to get the presidency with relativity, but Gagut got the presidency for black people. That is how Obama was elected. Gagut, G-I-J, comma J equals 0 is the formula which now decides who becomes the president of this country, as LLPOH, life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness, is declared. So you have to understand, many people would say, oh, well, Obama was half white, or suppose he was a good speaker, or he had women falling for him. No, none of those matter, because you have to understand, no one is elected into the White House if they don't believe you are intelligent enough to get there. And the basis of intelligence has now been revised to be who is closer to Gagut. Remember, Jesse Jackson, who's supposed to be the right hand, and also many people would say, oh, it was civil rights. Well, you have to understand, Jesse Jackson ran for president in 1984 and in 1988 as being Dr. Martin Luther King's right-hand man. He could still not get the Democratic nomination despite being right next to the greatest civil rights leader, a right-hand man to him. In fact, in 1988, the Democrats were even treating Reverend Jesse Jackson as a joke. They were saying, why was he even running? They didn't take him seriously. The difference is when he was running, Gagut had not been officially announced. He ran in the 80s. Gagut came out in 1990. Once it had been disseminated amongst the various intelligence groups like Life, Liberty, and Pursuit of Happiness, which is one of them, and digested in terms of realizing Gagut is the source of intelligence, as you can see from the eta sub n formula on the screen right now. The LLPH message came out in 2004, which declared, will Gagut issues influence the presidential elections? 4 years after that, all three of the front runners for the presidency at that time were connected to Gagut. You had at the time Senator Obama, now former President Obama. You have Senator at the time Hillary Clinton, now former Secretary of State Clinton, and former presidential candidate Clinton. And you also had the late Senator John McCain, all in 2008, all of them running for president, and all of them had their connections to Gagut. Senator McCain actually invited Professor Oyibo and his staff, including myself, to brief the United States Senate on Gagut on the date of January 27th in the year 2000. Gagut briefed the United States Senate on January 27th in the year 2000. Senator McCain invited Professor Oyibo to do that. That's his connection to Gagut. Senator at the time Hillary Clinton in 2001 also briefed the United States Senate on Gagut herself. She did this during the September 2001 year, roughly around the time of a little bit after the September 11th attacks. But what's important to understand is she also briefed the Senate on Gagut, and her husband was also connected, as we go over several times, the Gagut-Yale study. So she had her connection to Gagut. Now, Obama didn't necessarily do the same thing that both Hillary Clinton and John McCain, the senators, did. But because he was of the ethnicity or the race that was blessed by God with the formula of intelligence and being blessed with the ultimate intelligence, that is the basis of how Obama was able to become the president over the other two. It's not something to take lightly. A lot of times our people, unfortunately, because of Jim Crow's propaganda and also because of the conditioning of Black people at the 3/5, we often are superficial to the point where we see things happen and we think something else happened, or we don't understand the real detail of what happened. But Gagut was and has been the deciding factor of who becomes the president since 1990. So you have to understand, Gagut elected Obama in 2008, also elected Obama in 2012. 2016 was a problem in itself, which we're going to be going into further in the broadcast because of our people not propagating the formula and understanding the value of the formula. That was demonstrated by Dr. Ben Carson, who was a Black man who was a front runner in the campaign in the 2015 and early 2016, but because he did not have the confidence in himself he should have through the formula of Gagut, he ultimately lost his campaign and then ended up not only jumping out of the race, but then coming behind Trump. But even Trump, as bad as many would say he is, he also is a Gagutical candidate. He's not the Gagutical candidate that should have won, but he is a Gagutical candidate because he's of Germanic origin. And the Germans are the ones through the Gagut-Yale study, by the Gagut-Göttingen celebration of Gauss year 2005, that declared Professor Oyibo as being the greatest mathematician of all time. So he comes from a race, the same race. He cannot go against Göttingen and the German people. So you have to realize he is also a Gagutical candidate, but he wasn't the Gagutical candidate that should have been in office, which is Carson. But again, Carson lost only because he had no self-confidence. And that is coming from the 3/5 dangerous mentality that is and labeling that has been put on Black people. When you have the 3/5 put on you, it automatically destroys your confidence. It destroys your ability to do any of the things God has blessed us with Gagut. So now we're going to be going into that a little more depth in the broadcast as we bring Professor Oyibo on. Is everyone ready? Well, we're connecting Professor Oyibo on.
Hey, so I hope you all had a good dinner, and we're back now to time dilation, and um, so we have a lot of things as always to go over, and you know what John was presenting is very important in terms of understanding one-to-one correspondence. There are times when one-to-one correspondence is a convenient way for us to learn. Yes, after going through 2,500 years of horrors, yeah, there is some level of reason for Black people to lose their their understanding of reality, like the value of formulas. So how you get around that is to use a one-to-one correspondence. And there's so many of them. We've shared with you and continue to share with you the response from all over the world. Response says that incredible, very, very incredible. The same Germany that responded to Gagut in terms of the ultimate recognition of intellectual accomplishment, which is the Göttingen piece, where Gagut was placed in other words, Gagut was celebrated by Germany, particularly Göttingen University, along with Gauss, and put in the center position, which is so important. Even Russians echo that dynamics in their own deed and words. So if you knew the Germans, you would know that it takes an act of God for Germans to actually compare another mathematician to Gauss. Because, yes, it was Gauss here 2005, but you see Gauss is the center, but next right onto him is Oyibo or Gagut. That's a clear sign, you understand? So they celebrated Gagut along with Gauss. That's the biggest honor one can expect from Germany, and by extension, their leadership of the European race. So therefore, that is, the same Germany, gave the Jewish people an opportunity of putting their E minus MC square formula in Berlin, a big one, because first of all, it was discovered in Germany, and Germans, recognize it and everything else, and did response to releasing Jews from the gas chambers and so on and so forth. So you can see formulas, or shall I say, things that you could never have expected. Because it had to be an act of God for them to release the Jews from the gas chambers. And that act of God is E minus MC squared is equal to 0. The same way that it is it's an act of God for Germany to rank a Black mathematician as having surpassed Gauss. That's an act of God, far superior to the E minus MC squared. But they've done their calculation. They know it was the only place Gagut can be, because Black people had already recognized that already through a mathematics legend from Cambridge, Professor E. Abubakar, leading the entire Black race to the conclusion to bust all kinds of obstacles that were put in their way in terms of agents and foreign forces. That was all busted. They had a legal document in terms of Nigerian Senate motion. He moved that motion and proved to every forces that that conclusion is not compromisable in any way. So it becomes not only a legal document, but a legal document presented on entire Black race, on behalf of the entire Black race, by a legend, a mathematics legend, with a PhD in mathematics from Cambridge University. So the Germans knew the Black race meant business. They're not fooling around. They're not allowing so-called agents and any of those things to stop the process. Of course, after that, the foreign forces dumped tons of money into the Senate, Nigerian Senate, and began really causing a lot of problems. And then Boko Haram and all the other stuff. But it was all transient, because as some non-Blacks had commented, including some mathematicians from Argentina and company, yeah, they were shocked at such a bold step by the Black race. They thought, because they thought they had knocked the Black people out. So, okay, so therefore, so when the German, and remember all this happened in 2005, okay? The motion was in 2005. The German response was sometime in 2005. It was Gaussian 2005. So they definitely, responses to God, to the presentations, the Gagut Global series of lectures, and the entire Black people waking up to that reality. And as I indicated, they flew me on the Lufthansa, which was kind of interesting because that's German airline. And I remember on my way back, being greeted by the German youth. "You are welcome, Professor Oyibo." That was one of the shocks I ever had, one of the biggest shocks I ever had, because I had no idea. I thought I was keeping a low profile, and they came on to the airport. So the Germans are very, very clear what Gagut is. So they responded, the same way, because Professor Abubakar clearly indicated that Gagut has solutions to all problems mathematically, as in exact solutions to all problems. Not like Michio Kaku, who has no idea what geometry is. You understand? The Germans didn't fool around, but so did neither did Professor E. Abubakar, because he knew he was doing representing Cambridge University. Definitely one of the best ever trained in Cambridge University in mathematics. If you had not been convinced before, when he led the Black people through that motion, he convinced the world that was clear from the response from Germany. They knew Professor Abubakar was not somebody to fool around with. So like a Scott Williams, who would have settled for some kind of candy. No, he didn't mention any words. He says, it's perfectly correct. It's a very big breakthrough, and perfect solutions to all problems, mathematically. And so therefore, when you're dealing with that, it is light years bigger than A minus MC squared equals 0. So the one-to-one correspondence becomes such that, think about, all the scripts which the Jewish people had to follow. Okay, right from 1900, when they took over the New York Times. I'm pretty sure they were anticipating, looking forward to 4 years later on, or 5 years later on. When relativity happened, they were ready. So it's a one-to-one correspondence. That becomes your guide. It's not, you understand me? It has nothing to do, your experience prior to that, because they were gas chambers, they could have felt inferior. And so, gee, they're not supposed to be in the business of competing with the Germans. They didn't do that. Okay? When you're in a gas chamber, it's very hard. But they mobilize anyway, because now they have a formula. And they knew that that formula was going to pull them out of the gas chambers. That's exactly what you've been called on to do. And Professor Atiyah and the entire black race, the spirit of the entire black race, had already taken care of that. By the motion. There was also a bill with the foreign forces, and, places like BBC and all that. But those cannot, if they had the power to stop you, they would have stopped G.I.J. Quarters. They couldn't stop that. They couldn't stop you either. That's what happened with that motion. So what happens now is you have to continue now with that momentum. There's nothing, if nothing stopped me, because it's a God order, through the process of God ordering me to present such a form, what is clearly the ultimate revelation to humanity and to the whole world, to the whole universe. Nothing should ever stop anyone from playing their role once it has been announced. The non-blacks now know where they're supposed to be. Some of them have a lot of skills in propaganda. But use the propaganda to help this planet in terms of propagating the Gagut development. It's not about trying to look for gimmicks on how you can steal it. It's not possible for you to steal it. Don't even think about it. You can't steal it. All those stealing things, you got enough of those stealings. This is the ultimate. Whenever black people wake up, it's going to be there for them. But better sooner than later. Because the rest of the humanity need Gagut, just like they need the announcement of it. They need it because, yes, you have a lot of hope now. A lot of hope of things that you didn't think. So you're going to deal with greed and put it in the right place and move on to fall in line and follow the black race to lead you, because the black race was the one chosen to come up with the formula. Just like you fell in line behind the Jews in the Manhattan Project, you're going to fall in line behind the black race. If you slow the process down, you slow your own, transformation to higher, much higher grounds. You can't take yourself there. You could, you'd have found the formula. The black race, however, like Carver saved you from starvation. This one is the ultimate salvation. So therefore, there's a good reason for you, for your own individual interest, for you to, cooperate and put your, and we can see some aspect of that already, what we're hearing, what is going on with Göttingen or Yale, and, only a beginning. So we know the spirit of humanity would do what is right. Of course, that doesn't mean it has no challenge. So, so that's what remains to be done. So, but it's a one-to-one correspondence. Gij, comma j equal to 0, independently has E minus MC squared is equal to 0 in it. So there was no need to, as a matter of fact, it verified the E minus MC squared is equal to 0. As you've seen from Saga's review for EMS, European Mathematical Society, and Yom Koro's review, for American Mathematical Society. It's verified the relativity. It put us on the real sound mathematical dynamics in terms of, the conformal invariance. So therefore it makes, experimental is one thing, but geometry is a different ball game. So that has been done. So Gagut is it. So that's not something that one can steal. You can't steal from the people that have been given that. So therefore, what is good is to get down to the nitty-gritty in terms of how to move to the next level in terms of the Gagut heaven state of existence. That's what everyone needs. So whatever skills you bring in is, work together. Don't try to slow humanity down. But for Black people, whether such a dynamic is going on or not is immaterial. It was immaterial through the formula, revelation. It will continue to be immaterial forever. Nobody has ever been able to stop Black race in reality. Not even horrible stuff. The propaganda comes in and it might touch some people a little bit, but it washes out. I was never, beyond my little age dynamics, propaganda didn't work on me. So there are a few such Black people that are in reality in the real world. Okay? So, and that's how God eventually produced this. Because if I was overwhelmed with, with propaganda, that couldn't have been possible. So the fact of Gagut, being ordained through my brains is a very clear sign. The God order is God order. It's not a human order. No human has the power to do anything. It happens by God order. Even when you think you're doing something, it's very transient. First, you have that power from God. And secondly, it can, God has a right. God is the ultimate right, to do whatever God wants to do. So it's on that basis that both parties, Blacks and non-Blacks, we have gotten a lot of clarity in terms of who are the Black people. Any number of names was used to call Black people. They are now Gagutians. Gagutians. That's who Black people are. And so therefore, that's what all these responses are indicating. That's what Yale indicated. That's what People's Daily indicated. That is what Göttingen indicated. That's what Das Gupta indicated. That's what Russia indicated. There's no place where that has not been indicated. So the diversion again is going to disappear. You know, the Boko Harams, the attacks on Black people and all those, they're going to find their place. And in many ways, it's an unusual response or some kind of response to the new redefinition of the Black race. You know, people are scared and they do some funny things, but as we've always proven, we're not on that level. That's your level. We're not on that level at all. Because the whole dynamics of killing and all that is not within our own philosophy. Now, you know, I wish you would understand that. We're much, much bigger than killing. Killing doesn't serve us at all. Number one. Number two, the time for killing was before the formula. So if we didn't kill before the formula, now after the victory, what do we need to kill for? What are we killing for? What are we, doing? That's nothing. There's no room for that in our own level of reasoning and thinking. Plus, we're symbolically God's people. You know, our spirituality is the highest of any human level. So, but that's not a weakness. That's not a weakness. You can see the formula for the worst kind of bomb is in Gagut. So that's for you to know and to know what the possibilities. But for us, we've been blessed already that there's no room, there's no need for any of that already. To the contrary, we're going to convince you to give it up because you don't need it. There's nothing a bomb explosion and killing accomplishes right now. Since the purpose of war is to determine who is more intelligent or who is the most intelligent. That has been clearly done. It's done forever. It's not like there's nothing else that you could. My intelligence, first of all, the formula for intelligence is what Gagut, the proof of Gagut is. Where n goes from minus infinity to plus infinity, the modulus of n is infinity. That defines my intelligence. That's what I was showing you earlier in eta sub n. Eta sub n is the exact formula for intelligence, which is the act of understanding. So therefore, where n goes, the modulus goes from 0 to infinity. So when n is infinity, it's the definition of God and the universe. That means the understanding of God and the universe is there when eta is sub, eta sub infinity. Very clear. So what else is there to understand? And that's the ultimate intelligence, not just the highest intelligence, the ultimate. That's done. That's done. So therefore, no amount of war is going to change that reality. And since I come from a race, the race automatically becomes the most intelligent race. And Yale verifying that. So it's done. It's done for good. So the place for war, there's no place for war anymore. There's no place for killing. What remains is move on to the next level. The Gagut heaven state of existence. That's all that's required, remains. So it's on that basis that the parallel is very important. The one-to-one correspondence is the bottom line. It's very, very critical. One-to-one correspondence. In this case, the Jewish people are to E minus MC squared equals 0 as the black race are to Gij, comma j equal to 0, also equivalent with eta sub n. That's it. I say they're all immortal. So when you're rusty after 2,500 years, what needs to be done is to look into that one-to-one correspondence. What was done by the Jews is what, if you've forgotten how to do it, is what you need to do now. Very simple. Because the one-to-one correspondence is established loud and clear. The Jewish people are to A minus MC squared is equal to 0 as black race are to, or is to, Gij, comma j equal to 0 and eta sub n. So what was done by the Jews and what the benefit they got out of it, of their formula, is what you now must realize from your own formula. Is the ultimate formula. Not only that, you have to provide leadership. That's for you Gagutians. That's what God has called you to do. So stop the nonsense that's going on in the diasporan world, mostly coming from foreigners and non-blacks. So you're not going to join in that game of killing. BBC is doing a lot of dirt and other foreign media, but take a lesson from the Jewish experience. Take over the US today. If you're having difficulty getting your own newspaper established, it was convenient for the Jewish people to take over the New York Times. Well, you take over the US today, okay? And take over others. On your way to taking over the running and the dynamics of General Motors and Boeing and all those. Take over Harvard. That's where you're most needed. Take over. Don't go into the game playing in terms of acting dumb and all that. That doesn't serve anyone. It definitely doesn't serve non-blacks. And it doesn't serve God, your creator, which is the most important. Life must be better for everyone. Okay? Economy is Gagut. Gagut is the economy. Right? So there's no reason to slow down. One-to-one correspondence is how we live life. You see a human being eating when they're hungry. You are a human being. Well, you need to eat while you're hungry. But then you might say, oh, gee, how do you get food? Well, you see how the person got their food. One-to-one correspondence. You're going to follow the same path and get yourself some food. So it's very simple. One-to-one correspondence. That's what you need to remember, particularly in this broadcast, because we're losing a lot of time already. A very valuable time. It's on that basis also that you must protect Black children and the Black women and the Black men, especially the Black men that have been feminized, transgender and all that. You must stop Black people. That's not your culture. Maybe somebody else has that as their culture. That's not your culture. I can tell you that very loud and clear. A black man understands God created him to be a black man. That's also from the formula. If God wanted you to change gender, God will do that. And God can do that at any time without your permission. But it's not God's intention to do that. Because there's a reason for a man and there's a reason for a woman. You don't try to go, that will be a disservice to your creator at a time like this. So, and I speak on behalf of humanity. That is wrong. The whole idea of trying to believe life is easier for women is a feminization mentally. But life is not that easy for women. So you take a woman's role or posture, but you can't do the job of a woman. One of the principal jobs of a woman is have babies. You can't call yourself a woman if you don't have a potential of having babies. So that's not right. And the issue is right and wrong. Gagut is everything that's right. So let's, the whole idea is looking for green pastures and whatever, that the woman pasture is a way to go. No, that's wrong. That's absolutely wrong. You can't compete with women in what women have been designed to do. There's no competition whatsoever, any more than a woman trying to compete with you in the realm that you are designed. So look, that's a waste of time. A waste of time and slowing of humanity. So, so one-to-one correspondence is the bottom line. One-to-one, that's logic, that's intelligence. Learn from the Jewish people. And the Jewish people and the non-blacks stop interfering. Stop slowing down humanity by trying to slow black people down. That is not in your own interest. If God knows that you were going to be able to do something better with the GIJ, God would have given you. God trusted the black people with that. That does not say you cannot contribute. You're going to be contribute in your where you have strengths. For example, like I said, you can propagate. You're very good with propagating things. You understand? You have that skill. Use it in making sure black people, for example, Russia has one of the biggest reports on Gagut so far. That hasn't happened in America because there's a polarization here. So we have to overcome that polarization and propagate, start teaching the Gagut development in the classrooms. But black people must provide leadership. You have to. But you must be protecting black children through the book drive. Every school must have a Gagut book as protection for the black youth. So the world and the black kids themselves understand who they are. That will wash out the fraud of so-called slavery and all the other BS. That's a waste of time because it's an impossibility. Done. Pull up. The Senate motion, and then Russia peace. Follow that. And you have time. sense of calling and getting their books.
Remember, everyone, you can call us at 631-242-3069 to get your Gagut books right now. Don't hesitate. Call at 631-242-3069. Again, you can call us at 631-242-3069 so you can get your Gagut books, your Gagut shirts, and register to come to the Gagut briefings. Call us at 631.